This building on downtown Calgary's west side, all 37 stories and more than 600,000 square feet of office space, has been virtually empty since 2019. But that's about to change. The University of Calgary is taking over 2 floors of the Annex building, 8 floors in the tower, and occupying a space on the ground floor to make more room for its School of Architecture and Planning. It's hoped the move will breathe new life into a downtown that's been struggling for some time. In fact, Calgary has the highest downtown vacancy rate in all of Canada.
But it's been relatively flat for quite a while. So still very much above average vacancy, hovering between 25 and 28% for a number of years now. It was improving 2017 to 2019, and then COVID hit, and it's improving now. I'm done guessing when we'll be back to kind of a low teens vacancy, but the story and the economic activity in Alberta and in Calgary and in downtown Calgary is positive. So we are moving in the right direction.
Real estate aside, this city's downtown isn't exactly a place people gravitate towards, especially on evenings and weekends. It's a challenge the city's been facing for many years, but thankfully I found an expert who can confirm it's not just us.
Nothing about this challenge is new or unprecedented.
Tracy Hadenlow studies commercial real estate as a fellow at the Brookings Institution. Specifically, she's done research on struggling downtown centers and what can be done to revive them. She explained downtowns exist in this perpetual balancing act. It needs to respond to changes in the job market, population, and all of that can happen faster than progress can keep pace. Hence the pendulum swing between a downtown that's expensive and elite or a downtown that's dangerous and failing.
In order for downtowns to be relevant, they need to offer something for everyone. And that regional accessibility is something that has a lot of social and environmental benefits. Economists talk about this phenomenon called agglomeration, which is like a giant gross word. But what it means is basically when you have multiple assets, more stuff close together, you're more productive just because you have all these good things super close together. So what I found in my research is that across the top 45 US metro areas, the more jobs are concentrated in the downtown, the more productive the entire region is.
So how does this latest news move the needle, and will this university presence really have the power to make downtown vibrant?
It is a building that, has more potential than what we've seen.
What I see when I look around is opportunity.
This is big news for us to actually land this exciting announcement with the School of Architecture coming downtown.
This $9 million Nexen conversion project means classrooms, studios, labs, and other teaching and research spaces for architecture students.
Just in the same way that a medical school is located in a hospital, a design school needs to be downtown. Not just located downtown, but integrated into the workings of downtown. We have Century Gardens right below us, a park that was redone in the 2000s, just about the time COVID hit. This area is experiencing some challenges, with sort of social disruptions and things. And the way to fix that is to have bodies on the street, to have people on the street. So 1,200 students are going to be down. We're going to be using the park. We're going to be using the commercial and hospitality in this region. And that's just going to lift the vitality, the vibrancy, and the sense of security in the whole neighborhood. And we see that as a really important obligation that we have to the community. We're here not just to learn, but we're here to contribute to the community in which we reside.
You might be thinking, wait, Calgary already has post-secondary presence downtown, including this University of Calgary downtown campus.
Well, and thanks for mentioning that, because Bow Valley College has been an anchor in our downtown core for many years. They're quite large and significant. So this was always about adding to that post-secondary presence. And we've had small amounts. SAIT has had some presence. University of Lethbridge has some presence. Mount Royal's done some things downtown. But to actually bring a significant presence of a school downtown from the main campus is a pretty significant statement from the University of Calgary.
And not just a statement. My downtown expert tells me it could have a trickle-down positive effect on Calgary's economy.
But it is something that could have some second-order positive effects on the city's economy, right, in terms of innovation and workforce development. The leisure and hospitality sector relies a lot on part-time and seasonal labor, and students are a big part of that workforce as well. So strengthening the hospitality workforce downtown is something that can also make downtowns more vibrant.
I like to say that Calgary does a great job of doing a Bay and a Bloor Street, if we're talking about Toronto. Calgary doesn't have a King and a Queen Street. We don't have that kind of cultural, youthful, alternative, kind of vibrant community that draws people downtown or draws people to an area. 1,200 students alone aren't going to do that, but we're the beginning of that. We will draw other students to come into the student housing that will probably be generated as a result of our presence.
Some of that is already happening. Surrounding the Nexen Building, there are 4 office conversion projects, which means more housing. The Taylor Building will have 83 units, the Dominion Centre 132, Place 800 will create 204 homes, and with a direct plus 15 connection next to the Nexen, the Petrofina Building.
They put together a special leasing package for our students. There are 2 and 3 bedroom units in this building, and it's actually connected by a plus 15 walkway directly into our building.
Here's where we get to the bigger picture of Downtown West. It's the densest neighborhood by area in Calgary and is home to more than 2,800 Calgarians. But the city says it trails other communities in development activity, public investment, and property values.
You know, the west end of downtown has so much potential because there's quite a big residential population living there, but there's nothing happening at ground level except for a couple of small little spaces. The other thing that's really interesting about the west end is that it's only a few blocks to the Bow River and the River Path system, but you'd never know it because the connections just aren't very good. There's a lot of things that are there waiting for quick redevelopment, but I think it has to happen fairly quickly in order for the place to become, you know, the kind of vibrant neighborhood. It can't take decades. It just can't.
The city has a number of projects on the books for the east end of Stephen Avenue, stretching all the way westward. And then there's 8th Street, where construction starts this year.
That new 8th Street can be like a main street for that neighborhood, and it'll include a lot more trees, cycling infrastructure, wider sidewalks for patios, and other types of hospitality uses. So all of that's kind of coming together now as we repopulate the buildings. We've taken the parking lot at the north end of 8th Street, and we've temporarily set it up as a recreation amenity that we call River Hall. And that offers kind of these community amenities and services that you would typically expect at a community centers.
Those are all the things that can be adapted and shaped along with the population in West Downtown, but there's some choices in Calgary's construction Sand Elec feels would take dramatic measures to recover from if these easier interventions don't work. Like office buildings with those big daunting lobbies. The Plus 15 network, a pedway system that's often blamed for the demise of street-level businesses. And those one-way streets that act like a tide rush for commuters, but also ensure the life of downtown bleeds out when the workday is done.
I'm of the belief that it needs a really radical rethink. The kinds of buildings, the kinds of urban form that we created in the 60s and 70s and 80s, it's massively obsolete. Either we just work out the little pieces that will sustain small businesses and the kind of human-scaled public realm and work on those and see if that's enough, or we strategically target some of the non-functioning buildings and throw a whole bunch of money at it and rebuild the first story.
How drastic can you really get in the built environment we have?
Yeah, I mean, it's great questions because I think it does depend on what's the resident population of the downtown as it evolves. The Plus 15 is something that it's still incredibly important, and even residential buildings and hotels, they still like to be connected to it. But we've often said at the city, you know, getting rid of the Plus 15 isn't going to put everybody on the street. The risk is that people, especially offices, would they would miss that amenity and maybe they would choose to relocate. So it's really, for us, it's focusing at the street level, improving the streetscapes, and then working, as I was saying earlier, what kind of incentives can we offer business building owners or businesses to maybe locate in there. So there might be a little bit more active role for the city to start incentivizing some of this transition. The one-way streets, that's something that's been on the radar. It comes up in all cities that have one-way streets. A lot of it's about how you design those spaces so that pedestrians still have a great experience, and it's the speed of the traffic that's also an issue. So those are active conversations that we will continue to have in the downtown, but I do think a lot of it is the more you have more people living downtown, the more types of hospitality uses we have, hotels, that starts to change people's perception of, well, what's needed here. When you just work downtown, you know, you're kind of focused on, well, what's my experience getting from home to the office? That's all I'm looking for.